Hello? Tell me in the comments if the sound is good, the image looks okay. So, in this live, I'm going to talk to you about the release of spring. Every year the spring is a release, but when you know the subjects that I discuss on this channel, you understand that I will go much further. Here we use the language of the birds. The liberation is very close, it is a question of week, month, days now. So, it would be a shame to burn me out of my 2-year-old job, when it's so easy, and creative, and liberating, and completely liberating not to use a certain word, to have fun with spades, darts, with the trumpet, with the Egyptian canal, etc. We can talk about a lot of things in the end, and in fact, it's always the same. You know, in my previous video, I talk about perversion, manipulation, mass manipulation. We cannot manipulate you, we can only harm you if you have a flaw in you in relation to your own sovereignty which, despite you, because it is being worked on, and I have passed it, so no judgment. So, who allows us to manipulate you, to lie to you, to disrespect you, to abuse? Here. So that's it. So 1, the sound is good, it looks like, it's cool. I pay attention to the microphone, it serves me as pins too, I have to pay great attention.
Malgré toi, hein, puisque ça se travaille. Et j'y suis passée, donc tu vois, no judgment, qui autorise à ce qu'on te manipule, qu'on te mente, qu'on te manque de respect, qu'on abuse. Voilà, donc ça c'est dit. Donc le son est bon, on dirait, c'est cool, je fais attention au micro. Ça me sert de broche aussi, il faut que je fasse super gaffe.
2. We use the language of birds. 3. You know, why am I a futurist? Because I have never ceased in my life to project myself forward, to project myself while being in the present, of course, but to anticipate things. I have this taste to be ahead, to guide, to enlighten, to see where the light comes from, and to share, and I managed to do it today. So even though the times are difficult, it is wonderful to see this gift which has become impossible for me to ignore in this period, which was of course amplifying, and which I can now share publicly with all of you. So, thank you, it's a real treat, but I'm going to be super synthetic, so for sure the shot won't work, the shadow plane can't work. Okay. They make us sweat, okay. It's extremely painful, okay. We can't take it anymore, but compared to the different trafficking that is dismantled, compared to the extent of the corruption that is dismantled, by gold compared to the extent of the lies that must now fall, our frustrations, our small difficulties, our great difficulties, because we can also, depending on the situation, I myself can have real difficulties at times. Each time you have to say to yourself, putting them in perspective is nothing compared to the scale of the trafficking that is being defeated. There you go, you look when you want to see the future, you look in the past obviously, and you look at everything that has gone wrong. So, I wanted to give you a little intro on that. You know, when there was AIDS, remember the hype around AIDS? It was a disaster. We were all scared, we all got caught. So, I'm not saying that no one is dying of AIDS anymore, I'm not a doctor or a scientist, but I'm just telling you, that you don't know too. It's like the flu, you don't know where it is this thing happened. They never finally got to find vaccines, they managed to cure people, but the only way they agreed to cure them was by making them even sicker and making them sleep, no, by making them die slowly.
Autour du sida, c'était la catastrophe, on a tous été effrayés, on s'est tous fait prendre au piège. Et puis, donc je ne dis pas qu'il n'y a plus personne qui meurt du sida, je ne suis pas docteur ni scientifique, mais je te dis simplement que c'est... Tu sais pas où c'est, comme la grippe, tu vois, tu sais pas où c'est passé ce truc-là. Ils n'ont jamais finalement trouvé de vaccin. Ils ont réussi à guérir les gens, mais la seule façon dont ils ont accepté de les guérir, c'est en les rendant encore plus malades et en les faisant dormir, mourir tout doucement.
The goal was what, maybe, was that all babies are born in test tubes and that we no longer have sex. It didn't work, Okay, with AIDS they tried, with the different protective measures, they have, you know, in relation to a certain release. So, I am not for sexual liberation, because I want to do synthetic, there too. There has been a lot of excesses with, if you know the Kinsey report, the LGBT etc., but AIDS all the same was a handbrake, like that, posed on the most essential freedoms, and you can see that it did not work. It hampered a little bit in time, but it didn't work. Similar, you see, compared to another great disease of the century, cancers, obviously there are people who will choose methods that ultimately make them die faster, but you also have more and more testimonies more and more cases of people who are cured by different methods by detox, by the young. It is very well known, very serious illness. So, today when you worry, and I understand that you worry, and I even at times worry me, because you have the mainstream media which are very anxiety provoking, but you have alternative media which are too, you see, all the same. Alexis on the radio on the other side of the Atlantic starts to make you a very blackboard. Well, you see, you take. You see, it's energy like that you take. So, tell yourself it's not the first time the shadow has tried to screw us up, there is no other word. Hello, thank you, Françoise. But she failed. So, okay, she makes you sweat. It's not the first time that there are people who do mean things in a coordinated way, but in principle, it always fails in the more or less long term. So, AIDS didn't work. We still make babies without a test tube. Cancer didn't work. We still manage to heal ourselves naturally and come out stronger and more powerful. So, the Cocoloco, the sting, all that, it's not going to work. The only thing is that they have so much by his techniques of mass manipulation and with the help of mainstream media, hypnotized. In fact, they put a hold. It's called a hold when you are faced with a narcissistic perversion.
Mais en principe, ça échoue toujours à plus ou moins long terme. Donc le sida, ça n'a pas marché, on fait encore des bébés sans éprouvette. Le cancer, ça n'a pas marché, on arrive encore à se guérir naturellement et en sortir plus fort et plus puissant. Donc le cocoloco, les picous, tout ça, ça ne va pas marcher. Le seul truc, c'est qu'ils ont tellement, par ces techniques de manipulation de masse et avec l'aide de grands médias, hypnotisé. En fait, ils ont mis une emprise, ça s'appelle une emprise quand tu es face à une perversion narcissique.
It is a hold that has a lot of people who are under the influence and who unfortunately run like sheep, to put it mildly, towards the cliff, to throw themselves into the cliff. Yesterday, I had someone professionally on a date, and so, I asked him, "Are you going to get stung?" And the person says yes, as if it was the only option to get out. We quickly understand that it is useless to spend hours there. So, what did I tell him? I told him, listen. And it's true lately, normally you see I'm an extremely positive person, and so I love babies, kids, and of course I analyze data, but obviously I have great intuition, and I also help with clairvoyance, mediumship. We all have it, but depending on how you work it, it develops more or less quickly, and therefore, since always when I see a couple of friends, when I see a friend, I see the babies to come. I also share how to do it in my private share. I saw the personality of my children even before they were conceived. I can guess a child's first name even before it is conceived, its gender, its personality. Here. And today when I cross, like you, it happens to you too. It's not necessarily relatives, because I made a certain selection, you understood it, but, more or less socially close, who tell me, I just got vaccinated. I'll tell you that, it's believed, but I see them dead. Not all of them, but I see them dead. As I see the baby, I see the passage on the other side of these people there. I'm not telling them, but, if you will, for me today it's clear that you're going to have a lot more, and I've been saying this for a while already, a lot more people passing to the other side after this massive episode bites, darts, collective madness under hypnosis and control, and much more than there will have been really death of Cocoloco or comorbidity, and the Cocoloco flu will have ended up being the little ones, and fear above all, fear by compared to all that, will have ended up being what will have turned their life on the other side. So how is it going to end? That's what's important. It will end with reality. You always know when there is a lie, it's the confrontation with reality that makes that lie explode in full flight.
Beaucoup plus qu'il y en aura eu réellement mort du cocoloco ou de comorbidité, et où le cocoloco grippe aura fini par être le petit, et la peur, surtout la peur par rapport à tout ça, aura fini par être ce qui aura fait basculer leur vie de l'autre côté. Donc comment ça va se terminer? C'est ça qui est important. Ça va se terminer par la réalité. Tu sais, toujours quand il y a un mensonge, c'est la confrontation à la réalité qui fait que ce mensonge explose en plein vol.
So, at one point, you see, he tries to hide. You see, the Chile, which was the country where they made the most darts, it is a country which today is reconfiguring. Because there is really a health problem we are going to see in other countries. It starts to emerge everywhere. So, before this morning, I posted on Facebook a video of family memories of my uncles, of my grandfather, of my father. Imagine he would have done that to us. He would have confined us without an extraordinarily solid reason. He would have confined your father, your grandfather, or your great uncle. Imagine your father, your grandfather, or your great uncle in the current situation. What is he doing? He goes to get the rifle, he goes to look for all that he had left of the Algerian War, of the Second World War, and he goes with all his friends in the street. All our grandfathers, all our fathers or uncles would have done that. We don't do it. I tell you not to do it, obviously, since times have changed, and we could never have been confined in this way because it may be bis repetita. So they're this week in France. So, we could never have done what we are doing today to our fathers, our grandfathers, our great uncles, our great grandfathers. They do it to us. I'm not telling you that it's wrong to stay zen and refuse violence.
Parce que c'est peut-être bis repetita non placet là cette semaine en France. Donc, on n'aurait jamais pu faire ce qu'on nous fait aujourd'hui à nos pères, nos grands-pères, nos grands-oncles, nos arrière-grands-pères. On nous le fait à nous. Je te dis pas que c'est un tort de rester zen et de refuser la violence.
I'm just telling you that. Look at what the dip is doing. It's much more effective to let the shadows and the perverts and the manipulators go to the end of their madness, to let them do it, to let them express their full force. Madness in broad daylight, and in fact just to stop them. They stop themselves, in reality, in the confrontation with reality as it happens in Canada, in Egypt. You see how it happens with the effects following the darts competition, as it happens with all the petitions which are signed, as happens with an ultimately passive but very effective resistance, if you refuse the cotton swabs, if you refuse the darts, and if you accept a time to shift your travel and vacation plans, we can absolutely nothing for you. And if you have pressures at the level of your work today, where are other pressures at this level? There is more and more collective of lawyers of pending proceedings who will protect you, and I advise you. So I think, I've talked about it several times, he's going to see all these monster trials and the like, but it's still a big waste of energy. I have always preferred in this sense, bullshit. When the law is stupid, be more stupid than the law. I raise my children like that. So you can have an allergy, there are some who are starting to communicate it. You may have there is a product that is named one in a lot of two alternative media videos. You can tell yourself that such component that support the back of the dart that you are ethically against. There are plenty. You are sick this week, we will do it next week. You have too much diabetes. Well, you see, you can always find how biased since what is happening at the moment. Of course, we have to act. Well, of course we must communicate. Of course we must sign petitions. Of course we must participate in trials by also contributing financially to the level of what we can, but above all we must resist by gaining time. You have to save time. The dam is breaking out and it is the succession of all these micro events that make that at a given moment, a lie like a balloon, you see, will collapse on him even and that it will no longer be possible.
Enfin, tu vois, tu peux toujours trouver comment biaiser, puisque ce qui se passe en ce moment, bien sûr on doit agir, bien sûr on doit communiquer, bien sûr on doit signer des pétitions, bien sûr on doit participer à des procès en contribuant aussi financièrement à la hauteur de ce que l'on peut, mais surtout, on doit résister en gagnant du temps. Il faut gagner du temps, le barrage est en train de péter, et c'est la succession de tous ces micro-événements qui font qu'à un moment donné, le mensonge, comme un ballon de baudruche, tu vois, va s'effondrer sur lui-même et que ça ne sera plus possible.
I am now wary of my predictions on dates, so like you, I would like it all to end and dissipate quite quickly in the month of April as in any case by the summer with obviously, I see them these demonstrations, it is since last July, and last July I made a video, it is on the channel, where I said it will alternate between the barricades. I see barricades and illegal open restaurants, and I see people going from having a drink or dancing to throwing pebbles and in the same street doing both at the same time. So, it is not the protests of before, it is not the municipality, it is by 1789, I knew revolts in the south of France of wine growers where as soon as there was something which was not going, all the wine growers were taking their hunting rifles and going ahead ganga. That's not it. That's right, at some point people will come out once the war is won for freedom and in the meantime it's full of micro events, and in the meantime what you have to do is resist and of course refuse them. Cotton swabs and darts and we communicate. I was in an elevator, I have no mask, there are two people who arrive with a mask, what am I saying? I say, well the Cocoloco, I do not believe it, just that. The person I had on a date yesterday who says I'm going to go play darts, I said, listen. I see the babies, I see the dead, I'm telling you that like that, wait a minute. The message got through very well and it took me 2 seconds. So, here is what I wanted to share with you for the outcome of the situation. I also want to talk to you about the canal in Egypt and this famous container ship. As soon as it happened, intuitively, I felt that this is an excellent sign. Of course, I do not have all the details. I took some info, but the children can also be very contradictory. But for me, it is you want, because I analyze so much data, so I don't know anymore. If you ask me to cite my sources and everything, you have to see, I spend 4 hours a day doing that, and it's even automatic. You see. It has become something that I do, yeah, like you know someone who plays music, someone who is passionate about sculpture, you do that all the time, brief. It was written, that's what I'm going to tell you. This thing on the channel in Egypt was written. The current disinformation around what is happening is enormous. You see, if only on the name of the container ship, on it is unlocked, but ultimately it is not unlocked. Sure, we will remove the containers, but ultimately, we will. To do is huge. So, it's an excellent sign. What will come out of it? Will it be public now or public in a long time? I don't know, but in any case, when we are going to project ourselves in a few years, it will certainly be the starting point of liberation. Here is what I can tell you today.
La désinformation actuelle autour de ce qui se passe est énorme, tu vois, ne serait-ce que sur le nom du porte-conteneur, sur il est débloqué mais finalement il n'est pas débloqué, sur on va enlever les conteneurs mais finalement on ne va pas le faire. C'est énorme, donc c'est un excellent signe. Ce qu'il va en sortir, est-ce que ça sera public maintenant ou public dans longtemps? Je ne sais pas. Mais en tout cas, quand on va se projeter dans quelques années, ça sera certainement le point de départ de la libération. Voilà ce que je peux te dire aujourd'hui.
So, I'm extremely focused. I'm going to drink a little. Thank you all for your hello. I can't list them all because I want to answer the questions I also had on Facebook, and I especially want it to be synthetic. I want to do a half-hour live, so we're going to organize ourselves like that. It's okay, it's okay. So, I drink a little, I'm thirsty. So that's the base. Hydrate thoroughly. Obviously vitamin C. Me, I take 3 of 1,000 milligrams per day. I have been doing this for years, especially at the change of season. Vitamin D, I have lots of sun, but I take it too. So, there you have it, vitamin spring, it's as old as the world, and when someone asks you questions too a little your UCI, you see someone who is very under the influence. Me, I asked him this simple question, I said, listen, to a pharmacist the last time, tell me where has the flu gone, please, because I'm looking for it, under the carpet, under the couch, I don't understand. It's already been 1 year now that nobody has the flu, tell me what's going on. So I can't read at the same time, I am obliged to organize myself, I'm getting more and more pro on the lives, I think. You see I'm improving but it's not yet, I need to change some materials and all. So I will answer the questions you asked me on Facebook. And I find a great idea also, you know about the lives that I wanted to do to answer personal questions. I will tell you later. So, I am asked, are the campaigns that there are a lot of people who are worried about a channel about a food shortage? A shortage in water. So concerning water, what I see. You know people who play dart, I don't know, it is very intuitive, it's more futurology. This is the moment, I know it is very intuitive on my behalf. I protect myself from those people. For example, if I have someone who comes to my house who drinks from a glass. Finally, I'm going super zero, kisses, intimate relationship with people who want darts, and therefore, the water you want to drink from the tap is 10%, 50% of your village, your city must be the water table for people who have played darts. So, where plastic bottles, I have reverse osmosis water machines. You want to do different things, but indeed, I think you have to be careful with the water at this time.
Je me protège de ces personnes-là. Par exemple, si j'ai quelqu'un qui vient chez moi qui boit dans un verre, ben, je vais super nettoyer le verre. Zéro bisous, relation intime avec des personnes qui ont joué aux fléchettes. Et donc l'eau, si tu veux, l'eau, dans la mesure où tu bois de l'eau du robinet, s'il y a 10%, 50% de ton village, de ta ville, de ta nappe phréatique de gens qui ont joué aux fléchettes, alors les bouteilles en plastique, moi j'ai des machines d'eau osmosée, tu peux faire différentes choses, mais effectivement je pense qu'il faut faire en ce moment attention à l'eau.
Afterwards, there are different solutions you see. But yes, we have to be careful with that, and I don't think they have a big food shortage. I think that we will have more on the supermarket shelves at times of small out of stock. Small out of stock, some things can also be a little bit of difficulties. If you want this cataclysm, pay attention to the access like vitamins. You see, the quality of the water is essential. If you just have a small carafe with a small filter and that you take tap water already before, it was not enough. But today, even less, and in tap water, what is the most toxic thing? Fluoride. You have a lot of things to document. So the first thing to do is already buy fluoride toothpaste here for the little advice. Obviously, if you are in town, the situation is much more tense than it is in the countryside, where there is still a spring in the village. And what if that was where you had a much easier time? Then I was answering Noel, keep calm at the countryside, and I even see an exodus in the future from rural towns because the climate is more and more difficult, and in big cities like Paris, Brussels, Berlin. It will become downright. You see, if you live in another district, there are barricades and rave parties every night. After a while, without little difficult to live here. So, for the detoxification, Beatrice asks me, so it's in my private sharing, because, if you want, detox has been part of a whole process. I already say a lot of things publicly, I cannot share everything publicly. So I go further, and the detox in my private part, and as and when measure in this private sharing is the community also grows private. I could share more. What is essential to understand is that just a purge, just a young intermittent, just when young, even a dry youngster, that will cleanse you for a while. But we're going to oven detox. You know, there are ovens like that, they have a cleaning function that goes all the way and removes all tissue, and who puts it in circulation. This is what a lot of classic detox bases. The idea is that once it is put back into circulation, it does not redeposit on the walls, and often it does so. It is once it circulates well in the body to seek it to evacuate it. I can't tell you that there are here details that I send evenings explained by laughing. It is very pee-poo, but obviously I'm not going to do that here. But it's in my private part on center in Indonesia and Bali. He is fabulous who does that. I have known them for 14 years. They are 6 pairs open to share their protocols. I discuss with a lot of natural doctors.
Et qui redécollent tout des tissus et qui le mettent en circulation. Ça, c'est ce que beaucoup de détox classiques font. L'idée, c'est une fois que ça se remet en circulation, que ça ne se redépose pas sur les parois. Et souvent, c'est le cas. Donc l'idée, c'est une fois que c'est bien en circulation dans l'organisme, hop, d'aller le chercher et de l'évacuer. Je ne peux pas te dire ça ici, il y a des détails. Moi, j'ai passé des soirées à l'expliquer, en riant. C'est très pipi caca, mais évidemment, je ne vais pas te faire ça ici. Donc, c'est dans mon partage privé. Le centre est en Indonésie, à Bali. Il est fabuleux, qui fait ça. Je les connais depuis 14 ans. Ils sont super open à partager leur protocole. Je discute avec beaucoup de docteurs naturels.
I also have a lot of them in consultation, and I think that in the future this type of center will be increased enormously, is in the impasse of professional reconversion with, what, and the first thing to do is to go there as soon as I can. I go back, I go there almost every 2 years and go there and then discuss with them, and then make your protocol in good condition. Association, etc. If you are in France, like the Order of Doctors and all, that will collapse with the national education, with the 5 and with the donations, that you can already started taking information but helping everyone. And I can't say more publicly that this is how customers travel. Always think that by this summer the dam will definitely have the peace. You can anticipate trips for this summer before it gets a little tricky. You still have systems if you absolutely have to travel, and plan B to use another means than the plane, to use another route than the shortest route, or you can travel internally. But in everything case, never, 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 I can't, you advise. You see, that's what I apply myself. Even I could have said to myself, go okay for me, for my children, little cotton swabs, and then it's over. I didn't even do it last year. If I didn't do it last year, knowing that they themselves had contaminated cotton swabs. You see, the president of Zimbabwe said he got a lot from the organization Josh, and he stopped the doctor. He smelled something wrong. So, he had a papaya and a goat tested. He saw that it was positive. He refused these. Lots of head result. He opposed all these measures. Result a year after his death.
Tu vois, c'est ce que je m'applique à moi-même. J'aurais pu me dire, allez, ok, pour moi, pour mes enfants, un petit coton-tige et puis c'est fini. Je ne l'ai même pas fait l'année dernière. Bon, si je ne l'ai pas fait l'année dernière, sachant qu'il y avait des cotons-tiges qui étaient eux-mêmes contaminés. Tu vois, le président du Zimbabwe l'a dit, il avait reçu un lot de l'organisation Mush et étant docteur, il avait senti l'anguille. Donc il a fait tester une papaye, une chèvre, il a vu que c'était positif, il a refusé ses lots de tests. Résultat, il s'est opposé à toutes ces mesures. Résultat, 1 an après, il est décédé.
So, you see me, I didn't play
Donc,
cotton
moi,
swab for
fais pas
travel
du
last year.
tout
I'm not going to play it
voyager
this year. I
pour
only
faire
travel if there are more than
moi, je
cotton swab
voyage
and more
si je suis
dartboard on the outward journey is
conditionné que je
guaranteed on the
voyageais
return.
à
Here
l'aller
you are, trips
et
with
garantie
children.
au
Tintin, who
retour.
is positive, and other negatives that
C'est-à-dire que
makes
les
what are you
enfants,
leading in to buy your
ça
kid? My
m'arrive
common sense tell
de
yourself it's
décider,
much
tu
less
sais quoi,
bad
tu
than
veux
the
être sympa avec
trenches
ton gamin?
of the First
Non,
World War. Okay,
on
must
s'en
put it
fout.
into
Dis-toi que c'est
perspective,
tellement
and the
chouette que
fact
les
of it to
tranchées, que
refuse
la
is the
Première Guerre
best
mondiale.
resistance possible
Ok,
that you could
je
have for
relativise.
yourself and for
Et le
humanity
fait
right
de
now. It's playing
refuser,
at
c'est la
this
meilleure
level.
résistance possible.
Then in the
C'est ça.
question, but receives and
Donc
wins so
bon,
really.
et
I may
pour
not be enough to
en
thank you,
ce moment,
but
ça se joue
I
à
read and
Singapour.
comment is all times I have a little difficult day. I have things a little difficult
Moi,
up for the channel. I look at your comments and I went back thoroughly. So thank you all, and especially share
donc
secular and
merci.
sharing as much as possible is the
C'est
best act
win-win,
of
hein.
resistance is
Donc
better than
je peux
going to
peut-être
get the
pas
gun to
assez les
shoot the
remercier,
board.
mais je sais
You
qu'ils me
understood
remercient.
me, so yes, so
Et moi, j'ai
that's
des journées
where I
où
have a
je
lot
me
of
dis,
questions about the
hop,
contagiousness of people who
je
have played
m'achète,
darts.
je regarde
Listen,
mes
I was
commentaires
completely active. I could be
et je
wrong, but for
repartis à
me, if you
fond.
want, like in darts.
Donc merci.
There are little bits of AIDS, there are little bits of
Partagez,
malaria,
likez,
unfortunately.
partagez,
There are little
maxi.
bits of children,
C'est bon,
no,
il n'y a
but
pas
we
que
are
de
going to
l'adoption,
say
c'est
it like
aussi
that,
d'aller
abort or
chercher les
whatever
bébés contre le
fetus.
sanglier.
Anyway,
Tu m'as
all this
compris.
traffic that is being dismantled.
Alors,
I think that the person who
oui,
receives
alors
this,
c'était
then
une
it's like a
j'ai pas mal
time
de
bomb when on
questions
this day
sur la
absent, but after that, it
contagiosité
can
des
exclude
personnes qui
how
ont joué aux
AIDS kills
fléchettes.
can die and roomy. 15 years later, you
C'est
see that if
complètement
your
incroyable.
spouse has
C'est
decided to
inventé.
play darts
Les
and you have a
tomates, tu peux
classic
pas voir les
intimate
fléchettes.
relationship with I am ready to
Il y a
divorce,
des
I invite you as
victimes
I think so
de
afterwards.
sida,
Everyone
il y
is
a des victimes
responsible
de
for their
malaria,
life.
il y a des
His choices
décès
of his
malheureux
intuition. I could be
d'enfants
wrong, I could be in the excess.
non
It would not be the
naissants,
first
simplement
time, but you see, as much I do not like the precautionary principle at all. It is,
se
when at the
trafic
time we
qui
told
est
you
en
for
train
your
de se
safety,
développer.
Webb, for my safety, you make me do a lot of useless things. I
Je
had to
pense
pronounce
que
words that
la
shouldn't be so be
personne
super
qui
great language
reçoit
of
ça,
birds, even if it's not
alors
always easy in
on
the
me dit,
comments.
bon, bah retarde 15 jours après. Mais après, ça peut exploser. À l'époque, au moment du sida, tu peux décéder d'un rhume 15 ans après. Tu vois. Donc, si ton conjoint a décidé de jouer aux fléchettes et que tu as des relations intimes classiques avec, moi, je suis prête à divorcer. Je te le dis tel que je le pense. Donc après, chacun est responsable de sa vie, de ses choix, de son intuition. Je peux me tromper, je peux être dans l'excès, ça ne serait pas la première fois. Mais tu vois, autant je n'aime pas du tout le principe de précaution. Tu sais, quand à l'époque, on te disait pour votre sécurité, ouais, pour ma sécurité, tu me fais faire plein de trucs inutiles. J'ai dû prononcer des mots qu'il ne faut pas. Donc, soyez super langage des oiseaux, même si c'est pas toujours facile, dans les commentaires.
So, I said here are maximum precautions while we painted ourselves anyway, it will end up going out. If you have a loved one on a daily basis, explain what to say to yourself, that it is not because you are married to someone that you have to accept everything here, and at worst there are solutions. Here to answer, so I will not spend too long. Also spent small connections. Kills, this is where I am. There may be power cuts during this moment as we are confined, when we will take back our freedoms. So that's very important. Thank you for asking the question. Mary Soul, so you take back your freedom when my name, when he decides inside it's not because we can't take the plane away now that we are not free. All the challenge, if the light accepts that the shadow is exposed at this moment to such extremes, it is to push us to resume our full power, to regain our sovereignty, to be and to act. So that is extremely important. That is played out in this moment when you kill you on the pervert's narcissistic their words, and the fact that this hold is based on sure, even if it is unconscious, on an acceptance on our part. So it is enough to refuse manipulate, to refuse the lie. What is happening, this war between the shadow and the light, part between the lie and the truth, and you reposition yourself each time in the truth. I do not tell you that even me, it happens to me. Silent and two alternative medial fans who anxiety game can get out of hand a bit. Hop, I bring me back to the truth. Where the flu, when I put myself back in the truth, did they manage to make more babies with AIDS? Naturally no, and well, here it is, and so is there. We are in a confrontation of completely extreme forces. One can enthusiastically imagine that it is a rapid liberation in this fast acceleration that presents itself to us, and the more we resist peacefully, we simply communicate the more.
Je peux déraper un peu, hop, je me remets dans la vérité. Où est passée la grippe? Je me remets dans la vérité. Est-ce que avec le sida, ils ont réussi à faire qu'on fait plus de bébés naturellement? Non. Et ben voilà. Et donc, comme là, on est dans une confrontation des forces complètement extrêmes, ben, on peut imaginer avec enthousiasme que c'est une libération rapide dans cette accélération qui se présente à nous. Et au plus résiste pacifiquement en communiquant simplement.
It works, and the more efficient we are, so this exit is announced it's real. I asked that it be for the month of April, even if I am already planted on the dates of the demonstrations that I saw last July. Well, it is perhaps for what I was there, but a bit like an act to act, it will be to act the liberation of this container ship, I think. It's a signal. It's been a while. There was the disembarkation. That after there were chain events, here I see it a bit like that, and continue to communicate. Continue to support the ongoing procedures, continue to share for exchange and amplify. You know that in any difficult period there is a gift, and to amplify the task of the gift that you will receive in this way out of the crisis, in this exit from the obvious Coco Loco. No, I do not recommend them to you. Take a walk on my cell phone. We will put the link below, and in the first comment you will see in a simple way I go out of everyday life by sharing simple advice. You see something that I have on my bed, or when I sleep for an hour, it is as if I had slept 4 hours with a super deep top. For the weather, the potato tax, it helps a lot. I share with you how I eat something for breakfast in the morning, binger passers-by until 3 p.m, and you stay slim, and in same time you have a gastronomic treat because we are French. I share with you here are little things like that awesome from my experience at every day. Then I share super powerful tools to cleanse and agonize the trauma. We cleaned up a lot. We all had 6 killed here. We all did a lot of work on you, but this time it's to clean the trauma, the imprint on the body, to release on the body in 15 minutes, and from that you feel in stress and anxiety. You do it, you sleep like a baby. So it was the second part. Is the third part I present to you, futurologists. To speak, because good to see the dead is nice, but to speak, communicate with your future children, your future grandchildren. It's still really better if you are single. Asked, expect future child to guide you to the daddy and communicate with his great people. Simply meeting new people, it's great. Amplifying the results by simple little details, and especially yourself, by transforming your hand into GPS. Guide you on the choices. You see me, that happens to me, and I will share with you something loose. If he can say it, we can say it. Once I go on a trip, and with my kids, and expired passport, well, I did what was necessary. I did what I share in my private sharing.
Parler, parce que bon, voir les morts c'est sympa, mais parler, communiquer avec tes futurs enfants, tes futurs petits-enfants, c'est quand même vachement mieux. Si tu es célibataire, demander à ton futur enfant de te guider vers le papa et communiquer avec, c'est génial. Faire des nouvelles rencontres simplement, c'est génial. Amplifier tes résultats par des petits détails simples. Et surtout, toi-même, en transformant ta main en GPS, te guider sur les choix. Tu vois, moi ça m'est arrivé, je vais te partager un truc là, je vais essayer de te le dire sans te le dire. Une fois, je partais en voyage et avec mes gamins, et passeport périmé. Et ben, j'ai fait ce qu'il fallait. J'ai fait ce que je partage dans mon partage privé.
I spent, listen, to 2 international airports happened here. I will not do them at the moment, but if the situation calms down, or between 2, yes, why not? Brief, no private sharing. So how I transform mom GPS as for several counter at the airport, but quite simply I asked my hand. I cannot show you there, it would take too long. It is in the private sharing. Is what it is, this counter, or is it this one here? And when I like to drive fast on car so much, I have all my points, but how? Because I ask my hand, I can drive at 120 to 130, 180. It answers me, yes, life is simple when you take back your full power and sovereignty to get there. I'm very proud of it. I have a lot of drooling. It's okay, to the extent that it can help you save time, and today share a game can transform the lives of my contemporaries, reigns of those who are awake, intelligent, who support me and who follow me. So all the information is below. Keep confidence. The energies of change are there. It's thunder and cacophonous. Know that it's a spring festival that is announced to us like that. So there is a dance roller coaster. You see, it's in English. It's, it's a roller coaster, like the emotional one, where we are very, very enthusiastic, and then suddenly completely devastated. Enthusiastic beat, it's normal. Its transformation phases. Consider that this is like the birth of a new humanity that will emerge in a golden age. In the ski reform group must be abundant, and that I am announcing on this channel. I will conclude for 2 years, and then when I announced it myself, I say to myself, but what do you say, how it will be possible? And today you see very well that I had announced the fall of the euro. Today I have all the rotten agreements, who will sign all the scandal and the F-licks. You see how it can fall. I announced his fall in 3 weeks. He was remaking his boyfriend. And on simple trade agreements, there you see very well how it will happen. I announced the fall of the Vatican, or I was insulted at the time. That you see very well how it can happen. I announced that England would escape. You see very well how it will be. I announced the double departure of the badge. A departure of itself is a theft, and then a departure. I cannot say too publicly, but in fact they agree to be poisoned to justice. I say that I am not saying anything here. You see very well how it can happen now. I had announced a lot of things. I will not redo all the videos that are on the channel, but I love to share, and so you see that finally, if we want to save time, it is important to come together to communicate intelligently and to understand that your future you are building now in the present, whose confidence pep boring, that all the solutions are at your hand, that if we were children, even if we can be a little capricious, to turn scrapes takes time and perseverance.
Et puis un départ, alors je peux pas dire trop publiquement, mais en fait, il accepte de se faire empoisonner. Il y a une justice. Je dis ça, je dis rien. Voilà, tu vois très bien comment ça peut se passer maintenant. J'avais annoncé beaucoup de choses. Je ne vais pas refaire toutes les vidéos qui sont sur la chaîne, mais j'adore repartager. Et donc tu vois que finalement, si on veut gagner du temps, c'est important de se rassembler, de communiquer intelligemment et de comprendre que ton futur, tu le construis maintenant dans le présent, dans la confiance de ta conscience que toutes les solutions sont sous ta main et que même si on a aidé des enfants, même si on peut être un peu capricieux, tout miracle demande du temps et de la persévérance.
Be
Sois
miraculous,
miraculeux,
persevering,
persévérant
and
et
free
vis
from today.
dès aujourd'hui.
See you
À très
soon.
vite.
Bye.
Bye bye. Le
The
lien
link
vers
to
mon
my
parcours
private
privé
sharing is
dessous.
below.
Ciao.
Ciao.